Hello and welcome to another episode of The Aftermath. My name is Ian, and as always, I'm joined by Dylan.
It's
And man, wow, you really hit me with a humdinger today.
dropped a bomb on you.
The Super Dimension Fortress Macross.
A cross, bitch. About to Macross you up.
About to get Macrossed up. Dude.
Boy, did you.
I
All right, start from the top.
start from the top.
from the top.
Okay, about my emotions or start from the top of the movie?
The movie.
Okay, the
We'll
movie.
hit your emotions whenever the appropriate part
Got
comes
it.
up.
Got it. Okay. I have some feelings.
Oh, yes. If you listen close, you can hear them bubbling beneath the surface.
You can hear the cogs grinding as they turn. Okay, so basically
2009.
this is a apparently I've been told that this is a series, and we watched the movie.
Right.
And the movie is called The Super Dimension Fortress Macross, right?
Do you remember love?
Do you remember the 21st night of September? So that's what the movie's called, is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
That's the subtitle, is the title of that song.
Got it.
Yeah.
So, because I see it says 2 seasons, so I'm making sure I have the right thing. It's like
Right.
the movie is a separate thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm sorry, I'm looking up something real quick. So basically, this thing starts off pretty quick, right off the get-go. I guess we're watching like the ship be built is kind of how.
Oh no, we're watching it come like out of space.
Oh really? Okay, I thought it was like being manufactured or something. Is what it kind of felt like.
You know how like if an object is on like the dark side of the moon, you say you won't be able to see it very well.
Right.
And as soon as it gets within sunlight, it'll just like
Yeah.
come
Right.
into view.
Gotcha.
Same deal with the opening shots of that beautiful machine.
That is really cool. It is a ship that houses
50,000 people.
50,000. I was gonna say the rest of humanity, but I thought it was a little bit of a jump.
Right.
Yeah. So I guess the movie is called Macross. Do you remember love?
Mhm.
Which that makes more sense.
Yeah.
So basically, we start off with some like really nasty looking green Martian looking men.
Oh yeah.
And they start talking in different
Zeltandi.
the Zeltandi. They like start talking a different language and stuff like that. It's kind of cool.
Right. They're analyzing a Walkman.
Yeah, apparently.
It's like this device was shown to emit a sound that caused our troops to simply lose their ability to fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it was Muzak.
Yes.
It was just smooth jazz.
A song.
Yeah. A song.
Yeah.
Lyrics, if you
Right.
will.
I love that.
Yeah. So basically, we start off seeing the ship, and we got people on the ship.
Right. We got folks going through their day-to-day.
Right.
Like, they just live there.
Before we get into my opinion on the ship and all that kind of stuff, this was created, or at least this iteration or adaptation, whatever you want to call it, was made in 1984.
Yeah.
So we're talking mid-'80s, and
Oh,
it
yes.
has that vibe about it. It just has that
It
art
is
style.
Crisp.
It
and
looks beautiful. It has that same sort of art style that Gunbuster does in a way that I kind of talk about, that has like it's really complex looking but understandable. Not quite as nice as Gunbuster specifically, but it has that same sort of
It's
vibe.
like pre-Gunbuster.
Yeah.
Like, close to beginning of Gunbuster.
Right. It just has that same sort of like art style that's like super detailed, but it also feels like old.
Yeah.
But well made. It's interesting, and I
Now
like
that
it a
you
lot.
mention it, I think alongside Gunbuster, for me, this is one of like the most well animated films of that time.
I believe it. It looks really nice.
Everything's super fluid.
Yeah.
Legit, it just looks awesome.
Right. So we start off, and they have like the ship, the Macross, can have like jet planes that can kind of like that are almost dispensed from it, like you would.
It's got
like
a complement of fighters like you'd see it on aircraft carrier.
Right, it's really cool, and I love them because they look like jet planes, but they also pseudo transform into
3 different modes.
Right,
You
it's
have
really cool.
Jet, jet with arms and legs, and mech.
Right, and you can
triple threat.
And then like they can like those extra parts can be added on.
Right.
Kind
Very
of
customizable,
and it's really cool. It's like you can really fully kit out this jet, which looks bulky and big, and then that can turn into the full mech.
Oh yeah,
and you can like dispense some parts, and then just have your legs,
quote
unquote,
speed boost.
Right. Or the big thing that I think was really cool, and utilitarian in a way, is in space your 2 main afterburners that are your quote unquote legs can go underneath you and also like bend all the way forward and be your reverse thrust to like stop, which is like that's super cool in space.
Yeah.
So anyways, I love the design of them.
So nice.
And
Valkyries, they're called.
Yes, super cool. And our main man, his name is Hikaru. Is that right? Yeah.
Ichijo Hikaru.
Yeah, he is part of, what is the squad that he's a part of?
I want to say Delta? No, the Skull Squad.
The Skull Squadron.
What a fucking
I know.
name,
it's like
dude.
this. He's like the Skull and Crossbones guy.
Yeah.
And it's really cool. His buddy or his man Roy is his
Roy Fokker.
Yeah, it's kind of what a name. Right. What a Japanese American name.
Right.
Yeah, I love it. Anyway, so like he's part of this kind of like this squadron. They're flying around doing missions or whatever,
defending themselves.
Right. And then pretty quickly, right off the top, we get this in between this concert, the performer Lynn Min Mei, she kind of has this moment where she talks to the crowd. Kind of chokes up a little bit because like there's the discussion of them leaving Earth to be here, and it's like, oh man, that seems heavy. And then as she's saying that, she's like, let's all just have fun and forget about all that kind of stuff. That's the whole reason why you're here. And like then they go in lockdown, and it's like
transformation will begin in 5 minutes.
Right, and you're like, well, shit. But this is obviously the first cool part where like the ship turns into a giant mech.
Oh, yes.
And before we really get into that whole situation, let me bring back up what I was initially talking about, my feelings about the ship, is that it's as big, if not probably bigger than like Star Destroyers.
Yeah.
It, like, is what it feels like. So like it feels bigger than what like a Star Destroyer would be.
Yeah.
But it feels like it could fit. Let me actually just, while I'm talking through this, let me see something.
Gonna bring up a size chart.
Well, not really a size chart, but how do you spell occupancy?
I want to say it's OC.
Yeah, gotcha. I shittily typed it in Google, and then, as you can tell, it fixed it. The reason I'm saying is that we know for a fact that we were able to fit at least 50,000 people on the Macross.
What's the average crew of a Star Destroyer?
Right, and that's what I'm trying to see. Is it says crew requirements for the Imperial I-class Star Destroyer had over 37,000 crew on board, about 9,000 officers, and about 27,000 enlisted personnel.
We've seen how useful Imperial officers are. Why would you need 9,000 of them?
Well, you know, they do paperwork. A lot of them are just paper.
Right, just a bunch of pencil pushers.
The point that I'm making is that Macross is potentially
worth like
is about a third,
2 3/4 of a Star Destroyer.
Right. Well, no. I mean, like the thing is, so like again, the entire crew is 37,000. So give or take 13,000 shy of the Macross. So what I'm thinking is like the point that I'm making is that the first few shots we get of the ship and like the day-to-day life that like can have cars inside of it.
Like this thing might as well have a city in there.
It feels much like a city does. And it's kind of how I feel like I would love to see like a Star Destroyer. Like we get like the corridors, we get the big hangars, and like that's all probably real. But I would love to see
it's almost like a super Star Destroyer,
right,
in the sense that it just has this amalgam of different like sections and buildings. It looks
right
like on top of that thing.
I just feel like it'd be super cool to see like the day-to-day life, and not like in a comedic way, but like what does like transport between areas and floors, and like what does like common areas and like a Star Destroyer feel like?
Yeah.
Like, because that's like it's that kind of stuff when you get to see like the comparison of what 37,000 people to 50,000 people look like inside a very similar shaped object, if not one being probably bigger and having less people, and that kind of whole situation.
Right.
So anyways, so
that's a cool concept.
That's where my mind went, because I was like, they do have like buildings and homes and automobiles of some kind that can transport between these like pseudo road areas, which is super cool. A lot of open space where you can see like space outside.
Right.
So anyways,
observation decks and whatnot. The standard fare for any spacefaring vessel, I would hope.
Of course. So as it goes through its transformation,
also has these big ass mega particle cannons.
Man, I love that. Like the first thing we see from this thing, it transforms and it gets to push. It gets to like blast these shoulder cannons. The only time we get to see it like actually be utilized, which is kind of sad. But it's right off the get go, and it transforms, and these huge like shoulder mounted cannons like lock into place facing forward, and just rip into a ship. And it was just, gosh, it's so nice.
Absolutely obliterated.
I love it.
I can imagine like news of that thing spread fast. It's like, okay, the next time we see this thing, that's what we're gonna hit first.
Oh yeah. They make it a point even though we're in the vacuum of space, that they make it a point to zoom in on the feet for a second after the gun has blasted, after the shoulder cannons have blasted and obliterated the ship.
View.
Yeah, right. Is it like you gotta zoom in on the feet, and the whole ship moves backwards, like to screen right, as if it's like being pushed away by like the sheer force of the blast. And it's like, I see here, I see what we're doing here, and I love it. It's a lot of fun, and it's super cool. And like I said, it's really detailed. You can tell.
I need a model of that thing.
You can tell it's like hand-drawn art from the 80s, and it just has that sort of style. Super fun.
Yeah.
I also like the soundtrack. There's a lot of really cool,
dude,
like little fun tracks in the film. Not just like the singing tracks from
but
Lynn.
just like the soundtrack itself.
Right, exactly.
The original opening to the series Macross is one of my favorites.
Really?
Yeah, those like the opening brass you hear whenever the Macross comes into view. That's part of that opening. That's
super cool. So is the Macross series good? Like the 2 seasons that is the...
Yeah, I'd say it's worth a watch.
Okay.
I haven't watched it in a while. But I have always come back to this movie.
Okay.
Because it is so good.
It is really great.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would call this movie a mech anime,
right,
with a heavy romance story.
Yes,
which is cool, and I love that. I love it's a different take. It's fun. I think
waiting for the button.
I think
what's coming.
I think the structure of this movie doesn't do the proper love story justice.
Right.
And I think I'm realizing that now. I've never seen the series, so I don't know.
Yeah.
For this movie, what I can say, the core, besides the betterment of humanity and the surviving of the alien, like the real meat and potatoes as to what the series is about,
right,
or movie is about.
The power of music.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Besides that, you can tell that the subplot that we're like supposed to care about is the romance of Hikaru, which is okay. I mean, because I think initially it starts off good.
Yeah.
And I think it continues to be good, but then there's a point when we get to like this like middle part where like I feel like it really just like disregards all of the previous emotion that was involved and really just kind of diverted towards like the other love interest.
Yeah.
And it kind of feels like even from the get-go, she is this is going to sound mean. It's not meant to be mean.
Right.
It feels like the first time we meet her, you're like, oh, you're the other woman.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is like he's just kind of this like young strapping guy who's kind of like a do it himself kind of guy.
Right.
And
his superior officer.
Right. His superior officer comes in. She's a lieutenant commander. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
I think so. Yeah.
So
Tough
anyways,
as nails.
she gives him an order, and he's like,
what?
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
There's enemies in the ship.
Yeah, right.
I'm gonna go after them.
Exactly.
And
And
she's like, just let Defense Group 2 handle it. That's their job.
right. And he's like, no, frick that. And then of course, and she's like, I can't believe this.
Right. Who does he think gives the orders around here?
Right. Exactly. That is, that is okay. Right. I didn't think anything of that. Mm-hmm. The next few times that like she is introduced,
they're almost never on good terms.
Oh, not only that. I picked up on this and I called it from the get go, but I didn't say it to you because I didn't want to say it. Is it the second?
There were a couple things you called that you would set out loud, and I'm like, oh, fuck.
We'll get to that in a second because I want to hear it.
Yeah.
So basically, the second time that we see her, it is again in this kind of like
seedy little bar area.
Right. Well, I'm not even being. Is it? There's a couple times where you can tell there's tension between them.
Right.
And the tension from his perspective is like she's just my boss and it's whatever. Right. But the tension on her end is this kind of like, I can't stand him. And it's like this kind of like, this almost admiration kind of way is what it feels like, but not very overt. Right. And so I was like, she's going to end up falling for him so hard. And I knew it. And I was like, and I can't believe it. But he didn't really care though.
Right.
And that's why
he was busy with his idle girlfriend that he spent 3 days with.
Oh, and you know, hey, I understand.
Right.
Again, so they end up he ends up going into the ship, saving in the process of like destroying some of the enemies that are inside the ship and you know doing his best.
Trying to make it inside the Macross and start tearing up the residential area.
Right. So through a turn of events, the pop star idol Min-Mei gets separated from her manager of sorts, her friend or something like that, and she is now like alone. And as the ship is transforming, she is like what would be horizontal road is now vertical. Yeah, and she is falling.
Yeah, gravity systems have failed.
Right, exactly,
which, means everything's going one way.
Exactly, and
it is down.
And it's down. So he ends up saving her, but then in the process of that, of course. You know,
how about that scene? By the way,
it's very intense, and I love it.
Cool.
She's falling rapidly, and he's trying to speed up, and like in the process,
plowing through cars, goes through the bridge at one point.
He is in a robot, and as you can imagine, trying to go through a cityscape. Again, like I said, what would be horizontally, but you're going.
It's like you're cruising down the highway in a jet.
Yeah. And you're
traffic laws be damned.
You're right, and the only problem is like you're trying to capture this like small. Handheld sized woman, and you're just like, oh shit, you're just blasting through cars and bridges and stuff, and then he ends up catching her, and then of course, as you can imagine, the first thing I felt was like, "Whoa, buddy, you better check up," and then and there he is going, and then he blasts through. I guess it's the hull or something,
right? Yeah,
and he gets stuck behind in
the engine block.
Right, and there's like, so they're in this like almost like back rooms, if you will, where like they are, it has been stuck and collapsed in, and they're like in like the inner workings of the ship, so not like in the, I guess the civilization part,
something
of the
that
ship.
only like the mechanics crew on the
and,
ship would have access.
And
to.
Because the ship is obviously like still in robot form, everyone's kind of bunkered down, so they are.
Shit out of luck, basically.
Right. They are in there, and she's like, well, what are you going to do? And he's like, I mean, there's nothing we really can do. Yeah. Like, just is what it is right now.
Way out, unfortunately.
They find some rations, I think, and they just kind of...
supplies hidden here and there.
Right. They have 3 days in there to, like, really bond, and they really kind of hammer it... I don't want to say hammer it. They do a great job of, like, introducing this kind of... friendship by circumstance, and it doesn't feel it feels natural and it feels great, and I love it.
Right. Hikaru being a big fan of Min-Mei's,
so she shows him
like starstruck.
Right, yeah. She shows him
badass pilot who just saved her life.
Yeah. She's like really respectful and is like, oh yeah, how are we gonna like, you know, kind of like,
can I have your autograph? That's his first concern in this scenario. It's like, not right. Okay, there's no immediate way out. Let me just get her autograph.
Yeah, right. you know, and I love how like he ends up like I love how awkward he is at the first. He like trips over his like his stuff or whatever. He's like, I'm like, you dork.
Go do something else.
Get yourself together, man.
Right.
But he ends up getting himself together, obviously, and they become, like I said, friends by circumstance in a way.
Right.
And they end up getting on a conversation about her, I think, being acting in a film or something, and she ends up like acting romantic towards somebody.
There were rumors about her being like in cahoots.
Right. And then she's like, "That's just part of the game." And he's like, "Wait, what?" And she's like, "Yeah." Like,
and she's just like, "Yeah, I'll show you."
Yeah. Trust me. And I mean,
then just fucking
damn, she lays it on.
I'm like, it's no big deal.
I'm telling you, lays it on thick.
Right.
And I'm like, whoa, girl, you better slow down.
Jeez,
you're gonna make me fall in love with you at this point, because she gets, they're like, obviously like I said, the gravity system is still kind of messed up, so they're like floating kind of, all like ethereal like and kind of cool. So she like ends up pushing herself closer to him. And, so and he's already like, whoa, hey, whoa. Like, and this is the first time they like gotten really close in that manner before, without it being like out of fear or like just, you know, that kind of situation.
Right. Yeah.
And she's like, she proceeds to like, I mean, like I said, lay it on thick. I believe she says some things like,
you cited it as emotional manipulation.
Because it
may as well have been.
Well, because at this point she gets really close to him and like gives him those eyes.
Right.
And then in the process of that, she ends up saying like, "I've always had these strong feelings towards you."
Yeah, meanwhile, he's just blubbering. Like,
yeah. And he's like, wait, what do you? And then she proceeds to say, "I love you. I always have loved you." And
she's got him.
Yeah. Well, and then like I said, like I mean, so close to his face, and it's like,
right.
"Don't you love me?" And then he's like, I
he stammers for a bit, and she's like, "Oh, you don't?"
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Yeah,
no, I love you. I've always loved you." And again, because this is also like his pop star idol. So in his defense, he probably has actually
of course, she could do whatever he wants, whatever she wants with the guy.
To be honest, I have had some famous crushes before, and if they like got they started rubbing noses with me and were like,
"Bro, anybody
I love you. Don't you love me back?" I'd be like, I mean, yeah. Yeah, dude. Especially if they were like, "Oh, you don't love me. That's sad." I'm like, no. I mean, trust me. Yeah.
Right.
But anyways, and at this point, I was like, the first thing that was going through my head, I was like, you better not get pissed off whenever this boy falls head over heels for you, because you're really laying it on.
You can't just say this is a fucking joke.
Yeah. Because I don't want you to get pissed off whenever he's like, "I'm actually kind of jealous, and I don't want you to be with anybody else." Because at that point, it's like, I mean, well, you did sign up for it. Anyways, we won't get into that.
Yeah.
So anyways, he ends up saying like, "Yes, of course I love you. Of course I feel that way. I feel so strongly about you." Yeah. And then she proceeds to kiss him, and it's not just like a little peck.
Right.
I mean,
we're talking sucking face.
We're talking
0 G.
We're talking smooching and floating in circles for a solid 30 seconds. Enough for the
gravity to kick back on in their section.
Emergency hatch to open up, and everyone with every reporter around.
Every single member of the paparazzi.
That has been.
There's one dude in particular that says, "A scoop!"
The scoop. I was hoping that one would go, "A scandal!"
Right. Oh my!
I can't believe it. So basically they end up like hovering down, and as they're still like floating, which again, I don't know how gravity works except for just the power of love holding them.
Future tech.
Just holding them in the air.
And the power of love.
Yeah. They end up like turning over their shoulders and looking down. And of course, you know, everyone and the grandma's out there going like, "Oh, look, it's the pop star and her savior smacking."
Right.
And there's like there's a whole exposition about like her being kind of, you know, blasted on the media and kind of tormented for it. And she has this kind of realization of like, I just don't like this anymore. I signed up to be a singer, and I know what I'm getting myself into, but not this much.
Yeah.
So she ends up like and I love this moment. Like we talked about before, there's this moment in the bar.
Our boy Roy.
Yeah. And
Roy boy.
I made
chilling out, maxing, relaxing, all cool.
Dude, I don't know. I didn't. Oh man, I can't believe that I think I understand what you're meaning by I called it.
Right.
I think the next thing that I called at that point.
Yeah.
Hikaru
ends up like taking a seat at this bar table.
Yes.
With his superior.
Yes.
And Roy and Claudia.
Right.
And at one point, after he sits down, he gets a phone call.
Mm-hmm. He seems a little frantic. It's like, oh man.
From at one point, we don't know Min-Mei.
Yes, exactly.
Wants to meet with him. So he gets up and says,
he's like,
someone in my family's suddenly fallen ill. I have to go.
Right.
And Roy's just like,
what? Huh?
Family.
Yeah.
And then Ian's like, he doesn't have one.
Yeah, right,
and I'm like,
as his, like, I just love, because no lie, at that moment, I just thought it was so funny because he's like, family? And I just thought,
right.
I thought Roy, because again, it hard cuts to like the next scene. And I just imagine Roy just
Min-Mei's just on a bench in a park.
Right. I just imagine that Roy's still sitting there going, that bitch doesn't have any family.
He's an orphan.
He's an orphan. And I was like, and then lo and behold, that's actually what happened.
Right.
He lost both of his parents at a young age. And I was like, well, whoopsie daisy.
Yeah, somebody better pick up that phone.
Right. So basically, they Min-Mei and Hikaru have a chance to really be alone.
He basically decides to shirk responsibility and just go out for a night on the town.
But you know what?
It's great.
As a young man in a situation very similar to that, I understand.
Why not?
At that point, you have a young, beautiful woman that is also your celebrity crush in a way that's like
big fan of.
That is also just like, I feel happy around you, and I don't feel like you look at me as like just a pop star icon, and I feel like we really bonded in a certain way.
Right.
And I also emotionally manipulated you into letting me.
You're around my finger.
You know what? And I'm just saying.
You can't escape.
Right. And at that point, it's just like, it was a really awesome moment where she was like, I just don't like this whole situation. He's like, well, you know what? Let's just go have some fun.
Yeah.
And it's like, good on you, man.
It's good.
Good on you. And so they go ahead and just like, he takes her out to all these shops, and I think to get some food or something. They just go see the whole city. And it's really great because it's kind of fun. I think someone kind of notices her and tries to get an autograph, and they end up like just bolting out of that place like lightning fast.
Light speed.
And I love it because this is what I'm talking about. For like this is still like the first act of the movie, I would call it. And it kind of persists through a longer than average, what I would imagine.
Yeah.
They really camp on this relationship, and they really get, at least for me as a viewer, involved in the well-being of Min-Mei and Hikaru and kind of their, because again, there's a couple times where they get in trouble later as it happens, and some things that happen.
Yeah.
And and it's really interesting because they both take responsibility.
Right.
And it's super cool just to see that relationship as friendship that then kind of turns into something a little bit more, but it's never really like fully set in. It's always just kind of flirty and fun.
Right. A fling.
But it really feels substantial is the point that I'm getting at.
It could be something.
It could be something. Well, tragedy ensues.
Yeah.
As it always does.
Hikaru decides to take her out for a joyride.
Yeah.
On one of the training Valkyries.
Right.
Across
the rings of Saturn, I believe.
Right. Yeah. Now, at this point, the Zeltrandi are also formulating a plan to capture what they call my clones, which are what they're referring to humanity.
Oh, yes.
Because the Supreme Commander would like to find out more about their culture.
Yes.
Because he knows nothing about it.
They're upset because men and women are coexisting.
And that is blasphemous to
them. That is a big no-no in their culture.
Right. So
we do not reproduce.
Right. We create.
We
manufacture.
We fabricate.
Yeah. So they naturally decide to wage war on humanity, which also resulted in the Earth's...
We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah,
so they end up going for a joyride. He takes her out. They fly through the rings of Saturn. They have a fun time. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Yes, breaking many rules. But if you are an ensign on the, Skull Brigade,
the
Skull Squadron, dude, and you got the rights to like a ship or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You and your new like potential fling, want to just see space a little bit.
Just have a good time.
You know what? I don't blame you, man.
Right.
Go ahead and just show off a little bit. You got a pop star over here. Just go ahead and take her out for a spin, even though it is probably going to get you fired.
Court martial.
Yeah, here it
go.
is. So, anyways, they end up flying around and some stuff, and then there's like this transport vessel that kind of shows up, and it's his superior officer, the lady we've been talking about. What is what's her name?
I want to say Misa.
Misa. Yes, you're right. Mm-hmm. Misa shows up with. I'm sorry, I just said Misa. I just said Misa don't like that. No. She ends up showing up with Min-Mei's manager, like we've talked about, and they're both like we've taken a lot of heat for you guys being out here.
Get your ass back to the ship.
Get your ass back to the ship because like this could be the end of her career. By her doing this, which to be honest, I don't believe that. I mean,
dude, she's such a
good
source of morale,
right?
A
cultural icon, and the fact that she's having a little bit of a fun romp around space, I'd be like, nah.
Who cares?
I could understand he could have losing his job, like 100%. I can see him getting fired.
Him losing his job,
yes, but her
Min-Mei's gold.
Nah, she's fine. Right. That's more publicity for her. Any publicity is good publicity if you twist it right.
Right.
So she ends up. They end up before they're able to like actually talk about like what's like them getting transitioned back.
The Zeltan show up,
right, and just start
trying to capture them.
Yeah, and they don't actually start fighting. They actually think that they're being toyed with or teased with.
Right,
but they actually just try and take them away because obviously they're trying to collect them for their, as Dylan so eloquently put it, their culture
purposes.
So they end up getting separated. There's a really weird, the aliens are obviously aliens.
Right. They know nothing about us.
Mm-hmm.
Only that we are small and like them.
Yes.
But not.
Humanoid.
Now, I would like to mention our buddy Roy comes in for a rescue during that whole capture sequence. Off his ass.
Dude, what a guy.
And he is able to infiltrate this ship.
Yes.
And is taken prisoner with them.
Right.
Now, as you were saying, these big alien men, the green men,
they know no women.
Right. So they don't know about Hugues, Keeses.
What is a Hug?
Right.
How do you Hug a woman?
Right.
Wasn't that a question?
At first, they're just asking about how they're able to coexist.
Right,
because they've never seen that before. And
yeah, that doesn't,
What? Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Don't you know what they are?
You can't just, don't you know what they are? Right. Well, they'll emotionally manipulate you.
Look, there's two of them. Three, right there.
He could have like, yeah, boy, you don't got to tell me that twice.
Right. It's like, what the hell's the use about finding this out?
Right. Yeah. They basically start talking about like what affection kind of looks like, and then Roy, in his drunk ass self, he's like, "Yeah, you could just
we hug them like this,
grab like that," and they're like,
"Oh!"
And you're like, "Holy shit, dude, slow down!" And they're like, "I can't
believe this.
You just touched that woman.
How are you not dead?
Yeah,
they've got cooties."
Yeah, right. I love that. There's a point when they start talking about like what affection is and what love is, and of course Roy opens his big mouth again. He's like, "Yeah, you can hug and you can kiss." And they're like, "What is a kiss?"
Do a kiss.
And then they're like,
and it's just like,
and everyone there. I mean, besides the fact that we have Misa, who is like somewhat attracted to Hikaru. We have Hikaru, who is like very much like trying to be in a relationship with Min-Mei,
right.
The manager and Roy. So like of all like the sexual tension in that cage, for lack of a better term,
they chose the worst person to ask.
Well, but the thing, they didn't choose. He stepped up,
right?
And again, I understand. Like, I mean, as a person that's probably in that moment, I can understand why he would probably do that. Right. He's like, of all the people that could probably get away with this kind of stuff, I'm probably the closest to her in some way, and we can probably mark this off as like,
had to do it or they would have killed us.
Right. This is a survival kind of thing.
Right.
And so the manager stands up and is like, I'll kiss Minmay. It's fine.
Right.
So they kind of do like an awkward kiss of sort.
Right.
It really plays it up as like, yeah, that's not natural because we've seen the kisses in this so far being naturally animated, and that was not one of them.
No.
And
Purely
then
survival grade kiss.
Right. They do that, and then of course, you thought the hug was bad. They start kissing, and then they're like, God,
What the fuck is that?
And then of course the guy, there's one that has like a really like big wrinkly brain, it's like
yes,
it's protruding out of his
smartest
head.
among them.
He has like an ugly his head's nasty.
Yeah.
His head starts pulsating, and I'm like, bruh, not the undulating brain. That dude's about to pop. He's about to bust in a whole new way. When I said his head's gonna bust, I mean his actual head.
Right.
Like it's crazy. So after all
I
that,
cannot comprehend.
oh my
affection.
God, they don't understand it at all.
Purely made for war.
Right. And at that point, I'm like, bruh, you're about to be in for a rude awakening.
Yeah.
So basically,
lest we forget the squad of soldiers that had that doll on a table.
Yeah.
One of them pokes it like it's gonna bite him. And it gets up and starts singing. Everybody starts freaking out. Like, ah!
It starts. Another thing that they're weak against, because like we said in the front, there's like this Walkman they were afraid of that was playing music, and they were like, I don't like that.
Right. It basically disables them.
Right. So they end up like playing with this doll of Minmay, and as they like touch it, it falls over and makes music like it's supposed to do. And then they all start panicking and freaking out.
They're dropping their weapons.
They have riot
One
shields.
Struggles to shoot it, but can't.
Right. And of course, I'm pretty sure they say, retreat, fall back, retreat. It's like, what is happening, man? It's amazing. So funny and great because it does feel like something a culture like that would do if they were against like music or affection of any kind. Yeah. They're just like stammering over riot shields.
They're
like
going
everyone
through the plot of Footloose.
Right. Like, I can't handle this anymore.
Right.
So yeah, again, more sequences transpire, but basically they end up getting like mostly separated, and Minmay gets stuck on the ship, and
after the Meltland attack,
right,
which are the women of
the women
species,
they end up going through, I guess it's some sort of hyperdrive. They call it folding, right? And when they do that, I'm assuming that the jet that Misa and Hikaru are in are close enough to teleport, but not to teleport
not to the precise location
right
the ship is going.
So they get teleported into the atmosphere of this like barren
wasteland.
And they're like, and even Hikaru says like, this is a weird place. Like, I don't even know where the heck I am. So they end up trying to like with some. Oh gosh, and I know if any of you have been listening or keeping tabs on what's happening, the crew got separated.
Right.
So the manager and Minmay were on the ship, and Misa and Hikaru were trying to save them, and of course now are stuck on this barren planet.
Roy ends up sacrificing himself.
And man, what a way to go out!
One of the most badass ways you can.
Super cool, dude. Blaze of glory, and it's it's really cool. So as you can follow along as to what's happening here, you get trapped on a secluded planet with a lady that kind of has the hots for you, but we don't really know about it yet.
Yeah. It's one of those stuck on an island hypotheticals.
Yeah. And I understand it. And this is where I think that the series may play differently into it. Because it says that they're stuck on the planet, which ends up, as they end up doing some more moving around and seeing what's on the planet and trying to find survivors or any kind of life at all, they find the wreckage of a ship that was on Earth. And that was the last known location of the ship. And they're like, oh, shit.
This is Earth.
This was Earth. And then it looks like a barren wasteland. It looks like it's been glassed
unrecognizable.
So basically, I know that, let's say hypothetically, Minmay and Hikaru have been together flirtatiously or in some sort of pseudo relationship for, let's even say, a week. I know that's not a lot of time in real world standards,
Right.
but in the encapsulation of this movie, it feels like a long time has passed. Like it feels like their relationship has been established.
Right. Given the circumstances too, when you find out that everyone on your ship is the last remaining survivors of humanity, I'm sure that not much of a grace period would be required to even start a relationship at that point.
Right. So this is where my struggles with the movie come in, is when there's a lot of like back and forth. It feels a little more standoffish between them. And there's this point when they've been together for, like I said, they supposedly it's been about a month. So let's say even it's been a couple weeks.
Yeah.
They end up finding this lost
city of Atlantis, basically.
Yeah. Underneath the water of some kind, and it's apparently this progenitor species of humans that have been that are like the ancestors to both these
some races of giants,
right, and humans in some way.
What they called the proto-culture.
Yes. And so they end up finding this city and kind of like remaining here for a while. And poor Misa is, I mean, like she kind of loses her mind for a second and just kind of
at the end of her rope,
kind of playing house for a minute, just because she's like, look at this. And again, I don't,
people used to live here.
Right. And it's like, again, she kind of laughs at like some things never changed. There's like a kitchen with a table and like cups and plates and stuff.
Right.
And it's like, that's cool.
I can understand her coming to that conclusion because of the way she's come at this way of military life.
Right.
She's had to have grown accustomed to. So she does kind of just let her guard down for once and just treat herself like a lady.
Right. And that's cool. And I get it. And so in that moment, she kind of breaks and is like, I just want to go back to the way things were.
Yeah. To where everyone else is.
You can play pretend for a minute, but that still doesn't change the fact that you're like, we're on this planet alone and it sucks. And you're like, damn, it feels real. I love the way her character is written, and I love those moments of realism because it's like, that feels real. That doesn't feel like a hypothetical scenario. Like I'd be
actually having a breakdown at that point.
Yeah. The fact that we're like having this fun and that you're playing along with it's kind of cool.
Yeah, but then the realization hits.
Yeah, and you're like,
crushes everything.
This was our home world, which is no more, and we just sent out a transmission to the Macross that we don't know if it received or not.
Yeah.
And after it was finished, the power got shut down and diverted to something else. So and we just like, we kind of like cast our line out there and then the fishing rod disappeared. So it's like, well, I guess we're just going to see what happens. So to be honest, again, like I understand the circumstances. The circumstances feel a bit forced and for me in that regard of like Hikaru ends up holding her hand and is like, hey, we're going to make it through this in a way. And is like, and is being there for her like he has been for everyone. Cause he's a great guy.
Yeah.
And then he ends up in that moment, she ends up kind of like seeing him in a new way, or, you know, has that kind of twinkle in her eye. Cause she's like, oh my God, you care.
They did have a little heart to heart. In the tent.
Yes.
Of the, the parachute.
Right.
Trainer.
So
some gross ass fish.
Right. I'm not gonna discount that they probably spent a lot of time together, which is what kick-started their relationship.
Right.
Is the time aspect of it all. Is like you can really be with somebody and really establish a friendship, and then but none of that was shown though. And that's the hard part for me, is it like we got one kiss after like maybe some sequences where they were kind, where he was being kind to her, but she was kind of being a little towards him.
Yeah.
And then, like, the Macross shows up, and they're like, oh, my God. And then, of course, they kiss, and then she, like, leans up against him, like, all lovingly. And I was like, don't pretend like you guys are all, like, you guys weren't just, like, one scene ago. Like, you or like 2 scenes ago, like you weren't still like apprehensive about even wanting to stay alive anymore. You wanted to die here. It's like,
because of the way the scenes are cut, it does feel quick.
Right. And so it feels, that relationship for me feels forced. And I was like, and again, due to the circumstances, I'm like, that's okay.
Right.
If you need some sort of romantic companionship to give you hope to go on, I'm not going to blame you there, because I don't know what I would do in a circumstance like that if I was left alone with one
Last
woman.
2 people on Earth.
And you're like, you know what? I may as well get some sort of romantic involvement, I guess, out of this. I make myself even a little...
Don't know if I'm ever going to get back.
Don't know if there'll ever be any other woman in the world.
Right. Yeah.
At least, I don't know. I don't want to think about it, because that's terrifying.
Right.
So... trust me when I say I'm not against that.
Right.
The hard part is that we get back to society. There is a whole peace treaty in action that happens very quickly afterwards.
And May and the manager have somehow convinced the supreme commander to use them as a weapon to make the Meltan surrender.
You know what?
With the power of music.
Smart.
Right. Because it works. We know it works. That's a surefire way to do it.
Yes. Time tested and proven.
They're able to report about the ancient history between Zeltan, Meltan, and humanity.
Yeah.
How they're all related.
Yes.
So basically we have giant green space cousins.
Yeah. And then with that, we get this kind of peace treaty, though it may be weak. We still get it.
Very tenuous.
Yeah, you know. You literally destroyed our planet.
Yeah.
And we're just cool now, I guess.
Not much else we can do. I mean, you've got an overwhelming force, and we're just one ship.
All right. I joked around that, like, they showed up, and it's just the Macross with the rest of humanity on it, may I add.
Yeah.
And they stand there with their massive fleet and their big mothership with the
Death Star, basically.
Eyeball. Yeah, the Death Star, basically. It has an eyeball, like, laser beam cannon.
Mm-hmm. And you see this shot.
Yes.
Of, like, the Macross, after picking them up again, is just standing over this sunken city.
Yeah.
And as soon as the Zeltani arrive, you see their massive fleet and capital ship.
It literally looks like dots in the sky.
Right.
All the ships. And you're like, oh, shit.
So maybe peace.
Yeah, right. So they show up, and, like, the captain of the ship is like, they're trying to declare peace.
Right.
And I was like, bruh. And
excuse me?
I turned over to Dylan. I was like, imagine I had the biggest revolver in my hand, and I just pretended to stick it up to his head, and I was like, we're going to do peace now, all right? And it's like, I mean, cool, I guess.
Right, sure.
What am I going to say?
Why not?
What am I going to say? No?
Yeah.
You have the biggest laser beam Death Star cannon facing at not only the remains of my planet that you destroyed,
right,
but the rest of humanity.
Like coming to my house, break my shit, ask me to pay for it.
You threatened to kill me, and then, you do kill me, basically. Anyway, anyways.
It's ridiculous.
There is this really, and I mean, the media of humanity at this point in time is real scuffed.
Oh yeah.
Oh man. After the peace agreement has been established and all that kind of stuff is happening.
They bring 3 representatives.
Right.
Who have been mycloned.
Mm-hmm. Been turned from giants into...
They are able to do that.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
Out of a big celebration and everyone's all excited, they bring Min-Mei out and like, you know what? You're now back on the Macross and you're safe. Mm-hmm. And let's go ahead and have a nice little concert to bring it all together, our star person. But before we do that, we have somebody here that you haven't seen in a long time.
A couple of folks that you've been dying to reunite with.
And one in particular that is going to have a tearful reunion, I believe is what they said. And I was like...
Yeah, they could not have built it up more.
Curtain opens up and there's our boy and Misa. And I'm like, I know exactly where this is going. And this is shitty.
Yep.
And I was like, and then I'm sitting here and I'm like, don't try and force this fake ass relationship with Misa that I know that you don't. I know that, again, because of the way the movie is portrayed, there is so much happiness and emotion and what feels like love in the original relationship between Hikaru and Minmay. And it's like, wow, it feels real and authentic. Yeah. Whereas the other one, it feels quick, and there's like, and it feels like it, like all the happiness is in Misa's side. I don't really, there's nothing like the joy that I was experiencing from Hikaru originally really doesn't feel like it's there in that relationship. So the fact that like she runs up, tears in her eyes, and is so happy to see that he's alive and well, and then he doesn't even reciprocate a hug. He can't even fake that that he even cared about her. Yeah. And I'm like,
damn, bro.
Wow. Not only that, you were on live television. You can't even fake it for the cameras. And the whole time that she is like sitting there hugging him and is just like, I'm so happy to see that you're alive again. Doesn't even try to kiss him. Doesn't even call him. Doesn't even say that she loves him or anything. It's just like, oh my God.
You're safe.
You're safe. You're alive. And I'm happy to see you. Yeah. And he is just like staring at Misa, pretending like he cares about her. And I'm like... Wait a damn minute. I'm like, dude. And then there's this other transaction that happens where like he's in his room and then kind of
Minmay pays him a visit. He's about to take his poster of her down.
I'm like, dude, wow, you really have fallen from grace, man. She ends up kind of like again, in a very cute, heartfelt way, just kind of shows up at his doorstep and is like
I love you.
And it's like, because, and again, and it's not said like that. Right. It'd be weird if she was like, I love you, love me back.
Right.
She's just like, I'm just so happy to see you. And then, of course, as he tries to like walk away from her,
I don't care what happened with you, with that woman on
you're
that
right.
island.
And I'm like,
I just said, please, I love you.
It's so hard because I'm like, wow, I love her so much because it just feels so genuine. Yeah. She sits there and she just like
pours her heart out to
unprovoked, just hugs him from behind and is like, I love you.
Yeah.
I don't care what happened. I don't care what's going on. I don't care how you feel. I just have to say this. I love you and like you mean so much to me. And then I'm like, bro. What are you supposed to do? Not only are you like, not only does this other relationship kind of feel forced, but it's also with your superior officer. So as if like you gallivanting around with this pop star in a ship may have gotten you fired.
It's fraternization on both ends.
Most certainly having any kind of relationship with your commanding officer is got to get you terminated in some way.
Right.
But we're not even going to talk about that apparently.
Yeah. Like a damned if you do, damned if you don't.
But even still, like at this point in time, like you have become a war hero in some kind of capacity with this. Like you've also found Earth in a way. Like you could probably go back with Minmay and it'd be totally fine.
Right.
But no,
the brass would be willing to overlook that.
Yes. And then Misa shows up, and at this point, I'm like, "Ooh, buddy."
She figures out that a little plate that they found in the city are lyrics to a song,
right,
of the exact same melody that the Supreme Commander was holding on to, that Minmay was able to use.
Right. And so she walks in, and then justifiably, they both kind of turn and go, "Ooh,
this isn't what it looks like."
And then I don't even think that Minmay knows that like they're technically a couple. I guess again, it's never. But
I mean, she got the vibe.
She got the vibe because again, it doesn't take much. I get
right,
it.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that nothing official has been said yet. No, the only thing official that's been said is the "I love yous" between Hikaru and Minmay at some point in time.
Yeah.
That's the only thing official that's been said. Besides, like, I'm here for you.
Yeah. At this point, Hikaru is still just stuck between the two. Is what it feels like.
Yes. And so.
I would not be able to do anything in this situation.
I know exactly what I do in this situation. Follow your heart and not your anyways. So there's a point in time when after the whole circumstance, there's like that whole awkward thing is justifiably Minmay is like, I can't handle this.
Right.
I can't do this. This is too much.
Right.
And then runs away. And Hikaru runs to the door and is like, wait, and of course because he's chasing after the person he probably actually cares about, And then, of course, the door shuts and he stops. Mm-hmm. And then this is his chance. Misa says, go ahead.
Yeah,
chase after her. You know what you got to do. Mm-hmm. And I was like, precisely.
That's like a classic setup.
We all know what you have to do here because she's the one that you actually care about.
Right.
At least, like I said, right.
Our boy, he pulls a heel turn.
No, he's like...
Turns right around to this woman.
There's this moment whenever we got back onto the ship and I got to see... This is before the peace treaty. We got back onto the... what is it called?
The Macross.
The Macross. We got back onto the Macross. I almost called it the Gunbuster. That's why I stopped myself. We got back onto the Macross. And there was this video, even though Minmay wasn't there was this video of her singing like on a billboard.
Yeah.
And he was like, and it was in that moment I knew.
Hearing her songs,
hearing her songs. And he was like, and talking about how nostalgic it was and how much it made him feel. He's like, I knew in that moment the only person I wanted by my side forever was you. And I was like, bullshit. Why didn't you say something in the moment? Why didn't you show any ounce of caring? Why wasn't there any kind of like facial change instead of you being sad and mournful that you lost the person you actually cared about? That's the vibe I got. Sorry if I'm wrong. But anyways, and then she starts crying and is like, oh my God. Like, I'm like, that's right, bitch, cry. Because like you got chosen and you're not worthy in this moment, it feels like. It felt I at that moment in time.
He hates it.
At that moment I was so upset. I was like, "Come on, dude!" Because at that point, and then to make matters worse, as if this isn't a freaking setup, she hands him the plaque with the foreign language lyrics and then the paper with it translated, and is like,
"You have to make her sing this
You have
song
to go
because at this point it is a Code 1 red alert." Ships under attack. The Zeltran have taken back their peace treaty.
I need you to go.
Just because they can.
I need you to go
because initially the song wasn't ready yet. And they're like, well, the fucking fleet's here and they're not ready, so we might as well just blow everybody up. Supreme Commander's got no patience.
No chill whatsoever.
Yeah.
Man, I was like, how fricked up is this? I was like, this is messed up.
Oh, yeah.
Your new love interest, which again, I have seen no compassion from you towards in this very moment, is handing this scan. Now that you've confessed your love for me, don't chase after her because again you actually care about her. Chase after her because like we have to get her
to sing the fucking song, or else
you
everybody's gonna die.
You just broke her damn heart. Now go get her to do something for me. Right. No, bitch. No. Watch me watch this place burn down just to spite you. I know.
He does not have a choice.
So he stands there and he's like, well, damn, I guess.
Okay. Off I go.
And then so he goes to run, and he's running and running, and this whole sequence of him running, where I feel like I should be feeling overwhelming joy that he's chasing after the love of his life. I'm like, he's just doing this out of obligation. He's like chasing and running, going through all the like. It's kind of funny because like the montage of like staircases he runs through. I'm like, boy, he's going
some cardio.
He's
like, damn,
he's going way up there.
Must be a track star.
Yeah. So he ends up. As you'd imagine, Minmay sitting on a bench by herself.
Woe is me.
Sad.
Right.
I'm not even going to say woe is me. Justifiably sad.
Right. Yeah.
The person that she just opened her heart out for ignored her. And didn't even come until way after.
Yeah.
And is like, I need you to do something for me. And I was like, no. Don't.
I need you to sing this song.
No.
Or everybody's going to die.
And then, like I said, to make matters worse and to make it feel more forced, she like forces a smile and is like, yes, I'll do it for all of us.
Right.
And like,
I don't know what came over me.
Right. And I'm like, I know what it was. It was genuine love for a person. And so at least that's what it feels like. I don't know. Cause it like, there's so many other moments like before this where like, you can tell that he tries to save her or he tries to do all these things. Like I said, so they really hammer it home that like, that all these moments really build up in that moment where you're like, this feels like the love relationship that should be the the pillar of this this movie in a way. Yeah. And there was a little part of me that really hoped that in this moment that there was going to be this change of heart where he was going to go, I think I got caught up in what I thought was love. Okay, before I continue, I'm gonna say something that I thought was gonna be said but never actually happened.
Okay.
There's this interaction and it feels very awkward because she's like, you know what? Yes, I'll do it. I don't know what happened. And he's like, really? And they're like, yeah. And they're all like smiling and happy. And I'm like, that feels weird.
If they just had more time to talk it out,
but there's this moment where the gravity ends up not working.
Right. The blast shielding for the observation deck that they're on gets blasted away.
Yes. And there is this, and I mean heavy moment where the battle
is raging outside.
I mean, shit is blowing up outside,
and we're just waiting for her ultimatum.
Like, and it's
say now that guy died because you didn't start saying right away.
The thing is, I'm not even worried about that.
Yeah,
it feels like this doesn't actually happen in the movie, but it feels like that moment where you ever have that moment where like it feels like the world goes silent for a second, and all you can focus is on this one thing. Chaos may be happening out here, but I'm focused on this right now.
This is the only thing that matters.
And in this moment, it feels like that. And you know what really twists the knife? Is that they're hovering in space, holding each other, just like the first time that they were like in a real romantic involvement that may not have been authentic, but it was the real thing that kicked off their relationship. And he's standing there with her, and they're looking at each other, and she's really trying to make a decision. And I'm like, you can't tell me that that's not supposed to be like the end goal of the show. Is what it feels like. Yeah. I'm like, and like I said, they even zoom away, and there's this huge observation deck, and like blasts and stuff's going on.
Beautiful shot.
I mean, it's amazing, and you could tell the focus is on them. And I'm like, in that moment, the world may as well have stopped. He could have been waiting for a response, but you know for a fact he wasn't rushing.
Right.
He's sitting there in that moment like, this is it, and I just want to be here with you. And I was like, and I was hoping. And this is what I was hoping that was going to be said, is there was this moment where she was going to break down for a second and is like, I don't know what came over me. I apologize. And then in this moment, he was going to say, no, I was wrong. I don't know what came over me. I may have thought I felt like I knew what love is with her, but in this moment, the only person I want to be with is you. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? It's I mean, like at that point, like that for me, that would have been. And I know it's probably too much back and forth. I mean, I feel like that sequence could have happened if he didn't like super hardcore confess his love for Misa. If he was like
that would have happened if after Misa told him to go after her, he did.
Or yes, but even still, even if they had like a conversation where he's like, I just don't know how I feel. Like even if he didn't fully confess his love, even if he's like, I just want to
figure out who I love after we're not at mortal risk. Can you sing this fucking song, please?
And the thing is, like after she ran away, if he stopped and she was like, no, like go after her, he was like, I feel comfortable with you. I don't know what I want to do right now.
Right.
That even would have been a little bit better. He's like, I know I care about you. I know I feel safe with you. I want to stay here for a while. Even that would have been a little bit better. Because if you did that, then she was like, I want to be here with you as well, but take this to Minmay. And at that point, he could have gone off, and then that interaction could have happened. And then I feel like that would have, like, for me, that would have really, I mean, that would have been a home run. I would have been like, damn, dude. So I was really holding out for, like, a little bit of a change of heart or something different. But even though I know, like, the previous actions would have been a little muddy for all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But she ends up singing the song.
This is the scene.
This is it.
This is the scene that has me hooked on this movie.
Yeah?
Whenever she starts singing that fucking song.
Yeah.
And it begins.
Oh, yeah.
I fucking love this sequence so much.
It was so pretty. But then there got to a point where, again, because, and this is not xenophobic, this isn't racist. All the green aliens look the same, except for like one or two of them. So sometimes it's hard.
There aren't any like major characters besides these two guys and the Supreme Commander that we've seen.
Right, and so like there's this moment where the two guys in question have this awakening moment, and they're like, "Oh shit, we messed up."
This is after the Supreme Commander has fired his Death Star.
Yes.
While his own troops
there are tens of thousands of ships
of his own men in the line of fire, and he's just like, "Fuck it, send it right now."
He literally says, "I don't care."
And
fire the weapon.
He wipes out the Supreme Commander of the female fleet.
Crazy.
It's insane. So
for
if that wasn't bad enough, this song that they're hearing right now touches them deeply.
Yes.
And they begin to awaken. And they're like, I feel like I've heard this song like a long time ago.
Right.
So
it's the culture.
Right. It's our culture awakening. Yeah. So at that point, they decide to make a change and start assisting Minmay and the Macross.
Yeah.
Like the remainder of the female fleet and most of the Supreme Commander's fleet have joined together to fight him.
So for me, like, because this is happening, it's kind of happening in quick succession, kind of like a montage as well, like a fight sequence montage of things happening.
Yeah.
And so for me, at first I got kind of confused because I was like, wait. So, because I was like, because again, they're also still kind of fighting the women, or I guess the other green men are fighting the women.
There's still a few like stragglers here and
so
there that they're still
there's a certain point in time where like it feels like what I thought the leaders of the, what are they called? I keep saying green men.
The Zeltran.
The Zeltran. The leader, what I thought was the leaders of the Zeltran, like, we're having a change of heart, and then proceed to still kill the Macross. I was like, so for me, and then like kill also the women, even though like their Supreme Commander's been killed.
Right.
So at a certain point, I'm like, why are we still fighting? If you're having an awakening, everyone quit firing. Stop shooting. Yeah. And then you were like, no. The Supreme Commander for the Zeltron is still fighting.
Right. He doesn't care.
Yeah, right. And there's just a portion of the fleet. I was like, that makes more sense. Because at first I was like,
right. Yeah.
we're all on good terms now. And it's like, let's just still kill each other. And I'm like, no, wait. No. Everyone quit firing.
Right.
Cease fire, please.
Yeah.
So anyways.
I love that part.
Oh yeah. Our boy
Mikado gets decked out in the best version of a Valkyrie that I have ever seen.
Super cool.
Every weapon possible strapped to this thing.
As you'd imagine.
And he makes like a fucking trench run into this thing.
Yeah.
Like through all the inner workings. He makes it to the Supreme Commander's chamber where he's got Minmay like on the main screen.
Right.
And he sees this thing pull up and he's like, oh shit!
Yeah.
And he just unloads everything
into
this
so
dude's
cool.
face.
Yeah.
And it explodes.
It's a beautiful movie and I love it.
Yeah.
There's just this I love the overwhelming plot of it all. I love the alien stuff, the 20,000, 500,000 year old like civilization on Earth. It's like I love that whole thing.
The romantic subplot ruined it for you.
I wouldn't say ruined it, but
okay,
I just the hard part is like I don't think I'll look at it the same way because it just for me it just feels like I said let's say hypothetically I could watch the 2 seasons of the show and they could really flush out the relationship with Misa better, and then I may feel differently.
Right.
For the fundamental subplot of this movie though, I didn't like it and it felt wrong.
Well, guess what, buddy?
So
I got it.
Oh yeah,
I got the show.
Well, let's hope that it does it more justice, or else I'm going to end the series going. Nope, I still feel like shit.
Garbage.
I feel like Lin Minmay should have gotten Hikaru, and I feel like I will stand by that.
Right.
But anyway, so and of course she's all, and then oh gosh, oh man, we end up wrapping on this movie. Everyone's all the big bad guys are destroyed. We got some Ziltron on our side. Everything's
they set up like the next few installments by saying that there are multiple fleets.
Yes.
Supreme Commanders just like they had.
Right.
And that we'll have to fight them.
Right. And
but
that's
then
okay.
One goes like, hey man, if one song can do this.
Right. We got this.
Right.
So. After it's all said and done, Minmay is in, I'm guessing, the bridge of the Macross.
Right.
And because of the the rank of Misa. She is, I guess, like the pilot or some sort of commander over like the cap.
Right, she's like the handler of most of the squadrons.
Right. So she has a place in the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
So she's up on her elevated pedestal, whereas like the stage down at the bottom is where Minmay is performing the song to be transmitted.
Mm-hmm.
There's this moment, and I mean, boy, do they make it. I just, this whole movie, like it feels intentional.
Mm-hmm.
And it feels like they lay it on thick on purpose because they're trying to get a point across.
Yeah.
Minmay turns around and is staring down Misa.
Yeah.
And there is no lie. I counted 4 cuts back and forth between the two, and they do not lock eye contact. They don't make any sound. Nothing happens. It is just they stare at each other.
A silent exchange.
A silent exchange of, you know what you did, bitch. You know exactly what you did, bitch. And then she ends up holding up the lyrics and I guess smiles or whatever.
Smile for success.
Yeah. And then of course Misa's like shaking her head like in saying no. I don't know why. I mean, you don't have the right to be upset here.
Right.
Anyways, so and then of course, you know, the movie ends up fading out on a nice outro of her playing a song and stuff, and I'm like,
I think it was a thank you, and she was like, no, thank you.
Right. And I get, yeah. For me, it definitely feels like a, you know, you did, bitch. No,
right.
No, I didn't. Like, yes, you did. Yes, you did. That's what it felt like. So, anyways, it was like I said, I loved it. It was a beautifully animated, hand drawn movie. Like I said, the soundtrack was amazing. There's a lot of cool fight sequences. It was great. There was a big subplot where I was like, man, it feels messed up.
Yeah.
It feels messed up, but it feels like it feels like, you know what it really feels like? I jokingly said that Minmay was emotionally manipulating Hikaru when realistically it felt more natural, and I think that Misa was actually emotionally manipulating him the whole time. The whole time.
Oh.
Because I mean, even after they like left the planet, I feel like he was like, I have to stay with her out of obligation because I've been with her the longest.
Yeah.
And I've also like, I thought we were going to die on a planet together. So therefore, like we have trauma bonding and we can't break that. Even though I don't actually care for her. Anyways, that's enough rant about that.
Right.
We actually went a little long on that because I'm pretty sure we got a little, a little heated in here.
Right, yeah.
Really unloading my opinions on this fictional relationship. Sorry.
Right.
Is there anything else you want to add before we wrap this up?
If anybody has ever changed their mind about a person, do not talk to Ian about it.
No, that's not even the case. Like I'm kidding. It's a joke. Yeah, I know. You changed your mind, but you feel like you still care for someone. I mean, you know, who knows?
Right.
Give it a shot. If you get stranded on a planet with somebody and you're the only two out there, maybe you do care for that person, but then take a step back and go, do I actually care for that person?
Right.
Or do I just feel like I have to?
As soon as you get back to civilization, don't just throw that all away. Really
think about it for a second.
Yeah.
Now, I know, like in some circumstances, if obviously, your whole world is going to get threatened.
Right.
If humanity as a whole, I can understand not taking as much time to think about it, but...
Yeah. Anybody could die at any time. Woof.
Well, anyways.
Did you like it?
I loved it. It was a great movie. I would give it a thumbs up.
Yes, indeed.
Thumbs up.
I would rate this S as in Super Dimension Fortress.
Macross. Anyways, thank you so much for listening. If you're trying to find all the different ways you can get in contact with us, we have a link.tree /Ian Wolf. Or you can...
send a Walkman into space and then wait for the green giants to come.
Right. You can look at all the major podcasting platforms as well and find us that way. Or you could, I believe if you just like sink a city in the ocean, it's bound to find you a couple of years later. You just got to
wait 20,000 years.
You just got to really ruminate down there.
Yeah.
I heard that if you just take a ship out in space, just fly throughout the rings of Saturn, it'll show up in the form of a rainbow.
Yes.
I just thought about that meme that I posted in chat.
Yeah.
So just before we end this episode, I found a website called Inspirobot, and it's like it's an AI generated like
For inspirational quotes.
For inspirational quotes, and sometimes they're like some of them are actually like decent. Some are kind of like
every now and then you'll find
sense.
a diamond in the rough.
Yeah.
My favorite so far has been jerk off.
There's a picture of a waterfall and a double rainbow and a guy like holding his hands up in the air like oh my god, look at it. It just says over the waterfall, it just says jerk off. I was like, right. I love it. Some of them are hilarious. Some of them are not funny at all. But anyways, I love them. So anyways, until next time, thank you so much for listening.
See you.
Bye-bye.